Tonight. Seoul plans to send a special envoy to Pyongyang next week. The team will focus on arranging the upcoming summit and ways to move denuclearization talks forward. President Moon Jae-in vowed to provide additional government support for the data industry. This comes as the administration placed strong emphasis in developing big data into the country's new growth engine. Korea Central Bank leaves its key rate unchanged for 9 straight months. The move comes amid various uncertainties as well as discouraging jobs figures and low business sentiment. News Center begins now. It's 8 p.m. here in Korea, live from our studio in Seoul. This is Arirang News Center. Welcome to our program. I'm Daniel Choi. We begin with a potential breakthrough in inter-Korean diplomacy. Seoul's presidential office announced it will send a special delegation to the north next week to discuss a range of issues, including the upcoming summit. Kan Young-woo has our top story.
To try and put some speed on the diplomacy front with North Korea, a team of presidential envoys will be heading to Pyongyang on the 5th of September. The presidential spokesperson said Friday that the envoys will hold comprehensive discussions with officials there about the upcoming summit and much more.
The Blue House proposed Friday morning that we send a presidential envoy to North Korea on September 5th, which the North agreed to. The special envoy will discuss the details of the schedule for the Inter-Korean summit, as well as talks on denuclearization and fostering peace in the region.
As to the size of the special delegation, the spokesperson said, or who the team will be meeting up with in the north, that's still undecided. So far, the two Koreas have only settled on holding their next summit in September in Pyongyang. The exact date and how exactly the summit will be carried out has not been ironed out yet either. Also on the agenda between the two Koreas is opening a liaison office in the North Korean city of Kaesong. But that might end up being delayed because of an apparent hiccup in talks between Pyongyang and Washington on ending the regime's nuclear ambitions. Their relations are in limbo, even though ties between the two Koreas are getting closer. But the top office says the U.S., South Korea's closest ally, is not being left out. Just last week, President Trump canceled a planned visit to Pyongyang by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, blaming not only the regime for a lack of progress on its promise to give up its nuclear weapons, but also China for not doing its part. Kan Young-woo, Arirang News.
It became clear that the main reason the trip to Pyongyang by America's top diplomat was canceled last minute was a message from Pyongyang. The gist of it was this: don't come unless you have something for us. Lee Ji-won sheds light on the deal breaker of a letter.
It appears U.S. President Donald Trump didn't have a choice but to call off his Secretary of State's 4th visit to Pyongyang, as Washington had nothing to offer the regime. Citing an unnamed government official, Reuters reported Thursday that the tone of the secret letter Kim Yong-chol, vice chairman of North Korea's Workers' Party Central Committee, sent to the U.S. was that if Washington is not willing to give something, then Pompeo shouldn't come. The regime has been asking the U.S. to declare an end to the Korean War, while the Trump administration has been pushing Pyongyang for an inventory of its nuclear and missile programs and other military assets. The senior official added that North Koreans seem to be thinking the U.S. is not doing enough, which appears to back up a report by U.S.-based media outlet Vox, which said President Trump promised North Korean leader Kim Jong-un a peace treaty sometime soon after their summit in June. But the Trump administration continues to insist denuclearization has to take place before anything else. Amid concerns over the stalemate, the U.S. remains firm on its restrictions on the regime. A U.S. State Department official said the department has extended its ban on Americans traveling to North Korea by another year until August 31, 2019. The reason given for the ban is the concern over the threat of arrest. U.S. law stipulates that travel restrictions on Americans may be imposed if there is imminent danger to the public health or physical safety of U.S. travelers in the country or area. But it's known that individuals who wish to travel to or within North Korea for extremely limited purposes and whose travel is in the U.S. national interest can apply for a special validation from the State Department. There will also be exceptions if the trip is justified by compelling humanitarian considerations. The ban was imposed in September last year after the death of American student Otto Warmbier, who was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor by the North after allegedly trying to steal a propaganda sign. 이지원, Arirang News.
President Donald Trump reportedly is ready to impose additional duties on Chinese imports. And that's not all. He continues to be on the offensive, even going as far as to warn of Washington possibly leaving the WTO. Hong Yu zooms in on the repercussions of these drastic statements.
Asian stocks are under pressure after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to withdraw from the World Trade Organization. During an interview with Bloomberg on Thursday local time, Trump warned that if the WTO does not shape up, the U.S. might opt out of the organization. In response to Trump's threat, Chinese stocks fell, partially raising the gains made by this week's global rally. U.S. equity firm MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan dropped 0.8% on Thursday local time for a monthly drop of 1.6%. The Shanghai Composite Index dropped 1.1% Friday morning to edge near the two-year low it hit earlier this month. Hong Kong shares underperformed as well, with Hang Seng Index down 0.9% Friday morning. Asian markets been struggling for the last 4 months as the U.S. trade war with Beijing has worried many holders of Chinese shares. Growth was only observed in China's manufacturing sector in August after a 2-month downturn. Trump also said that the European Union's proposal to eliminate auto tariffs is not good enough, and repeated his claims that China might be fabricating the yuan exchange rate to make up for its slowing economic growth. Experts say that Asian stocks will continue to decline if Trump keeps making threats towards global trade. Hong Yu, Arirang News.
The South Korean government will be injecting more funds into the country's data industry. It's likely an ambitious amount of next year's budget will be set aside for that purpose. The promise comes on the back of a push to deregulate the sector. Shin Se-min tells us more.
President Moon Jae-in has chosen the country's big data industry as a prime sector for his administration's deregulation drive, earlier having targeted the internet banking and medical industries. Visiting a campus for startups near the capital Seoul, the president promised government support for the industry and said data should be made a new growth engine for the country.
정부는 우리 경제의 새로운 활력을 위해 데이터 산업을 전폭적으로 지원하겠습니다. 이제 대한민국은 인터넷을 가장 잘 다루는 나라에서 데이터를 가장 잘 다루는 나라가 되어야 합니다.
The president then added to his promise to strengthen the industry, announcing that the government will infuse nearly $900 million into that sector next year. The financial support plan encompasses the development of core technologies and fostering professional personnel. And he also said timing will also be key.
우리 혁신 성장의 미래가 데이터에 있습니다. 데이터를 기반으로 하는 신산업, 신기술을 위해 데이터 규제 혁신이 빠르게 이루어져야 합니다. 속도와 타이밍이 중요하다는 것을 다시 한번 강조합니다.
The president said the future of innovative growth lies in data, adding that the regulations on the sector need to be eased and quickly for the development of new industries and new technologies. At the same time that he's pushing to cut regulation, President Moon also says that above all, privacy and personal information should be protected first, and that can only be done with the support of lawmakers at the National Assembly. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
President Moon also attended a ceremony commemorating the South Korean Constitutional Court's 30th anniversary. During the event, he brought up the need for revision.
헌법은 완전 무결하거나 영원하지 않습니다. 헌법에 대한 해석 역시 고정불변이거나 무오주루일 수는 없습니다. 시대 정신과 국민들의 헌법 의식에 따라 헌법 해석도 끊임없이 진화하는 것이라고 믿습니다.
Earlier this summer, the Cheongwade wanted to hold a referendum on amending the Constitution alongside the June local elections, but that proposal was met with some opposition in Parliament. Despite his call for that change, the South Korean leader also stressed the people's support for democracy and human dignity will never change and urged the Constitutional Court to follow those principles. The nation's central bank is leaving its key rate pat again. This comes while many anticipate the BOK will announce a raise in at least once before the year is up. Ko Ryuni delves deeper to find out some of the reasons behind this decision.
The Bank of Korea has kept its benchmark interest rate at 1.5% for the 9th consecutive month. The central bank has kept the rate steady since last November, when it raised it by a quarter percentage point. While the BOK believes the economy is on a sound growth path based on increases in consumption and exports, it pointed to economic uncertainties, including July's employment figures and low business sentiment, as its reasons for holding the rate steady.
Despite businesses adjusting their investment in the facility and construction sectors, favorable export conditions have put the local economy on a solid path, and the BOK believes it'll continue throughout the year to reach its potential growth rate.
Job growth hit its lowest point in more than 8 years last month, as only 5,000 people were newly employed on year. Consumer prices in July also remain below the central bank's 2% target level at 1.5%. A rate increase by the BOK could also further burden households repaying debts, currently estimated at around $1.4 trillion, which would put a strain on consumption when their disposable income declines.
The BOK will keep trying to raise its rates this year, but a weak economic recovery, low inflation, and U.S.-China trade tensions could delay the decision, especially if the BOK lowers its growth or inflation projections in October.
With the BOK holding steady, the difference between the key rates in South Korea and the U.S. is expected to widen, raising speculation that the BOK may consider raising rates later this year. The Federal Reserve held its benchmark rate steady at a range of 1.75% to 2% earlier this month, boosting expectations it will raise rates in September. At present, the Fed's rate is half a percentage point higher than that of South Korea's. The BOK reiterated that the local economy is still on track for a growth rate of between 2.8% and 2.9% this year, but it also said it will closely monitor uncertainties, including global trade protectionism. Ko Ryuni, Arirang News.
Statistics Korea released its data on industrial output for July, slight improvement from last month, but there's continued decline in facilities investment. Kim Hye-sung breaks down the digits for us.
Korea's industrial production went up 0.5% on month in July, making a rebound from June's fall of 0.7%. Output in mining and manufacturing improved, offsetting a drop in construction.
Production in mining and manufacturing went up 0.4% on the month. Production in autos dropped, but transportation equipment and chemical goods output went up. Regarding transportation equipment, companies increased their workload in July to prepare for the long vacation in August. Chemical goods output went up on higher demand for cosmetic goods from Chinese tourists.
The average rate of manufacturing operations rose around 1% to 74.3%. Production in services stayed unchanged from last month, with a fall in financial services being offset by an improvement in the science and IT services sector. Retail sales, an indicator of consumption, rose again in June, going up 0.5% on higher demand for both durable and non-durable goods like cosmetics. Facility investment, however, continued to nosedive, dropping 0.6% on month in July. It's the first time in 20 years that facility investment has fallen for 5 months in a row. In addition, construction investment has also dropped slightly.
Facility investment fell as investment in the semiconductor and OLED industries has started to slow down after soaring last year, showing a base effect. Facility investment has been shrinking in recent months, but July's on-month drop is smaller than June's on-month drop, so we'll have to see more data to gauge the outlook in facility investment.
Indicators showing the current and future economic outlook remain sluggish, edging down 0.3%, 0.2% respectively. 김혜성, Arirang News.
The government announced plans to renovate parts of Seoul to help improve quality of life, but amid fears of heating up the local real estate market, only a select few have been given the green light. Choi Si-young explains further.
The Special Committee on Urban Regeneration, chaired by Prime Minister Lee Na-kyun, selected 99 locations across the nation for urban regeneration on Thursday. But only 7 districts in Seoul were selected and only small regeneration projects were approved in the capital. Last year, no projects were approved. The reason is the overheating house market. Large-scale development projects are likely to drive up house prices in the area being redeveloped, further pushing up Seoul's house prices. The Seoul metropolitan government originally requested more large development projects in other parts of the city, but the committee turned these requests down. The Seoul metropolitan government says it accepts the government's regeneration plans. The city added that it does not want to worsen the already overheating real estate market by pushing ahead with large-scale development projects. A month earlier, the mayor of Seoul announced a development blueprint for Yeouido Island and the Yongsan-gu district of Seoul. But the city has had to put on those plans on hold as Seoul's house prices began to rise even further following the announcement. The government has made assurances that the regeneration projects in Seoul will have little effect on house prices as they're all small in scale. It added that if the real estate market starts heating up, it'll cancel the scheduled projects. Choi Si-young, Arirang News.
Damage from torrential rain continues to add up here in the nation. Hundreds of people are displaced and thousands of homes and buildings have been flooded. Jo Sung-min updates us on the situation.
Heavy rainfall has flooded homes, roads, and farms in central and southern parts of South Korea just a couple of days after Typhoon Solik swept the country last week. According to the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters on Friday, around 3,300 private properties and public facilities have been flooded across the country. The torrential downpours inundated streets and washed away vehicles, as well as forcing 510 flood victims to stay at temporary shelters. The government has shut down 4 roads, 1 railway, and 8 national parks. The Ministry of the Interior and Safety said the heavy rain and floods have claimed 3 lives and injured 4 people as of Friday, while 1 person is still missing. With more than 40 millimeters of rainfall per hour in southern parts of South Korea from Thursday to Friday, some parts of Chungcheongdo and Jeollado provinces have seen about 200 millimeters of heavy rain in total. The downpours have weakened for now and all rain warnings have been lifted, but the weather agency says more heavy rainfall and strong winds are expected from Friday night to Saturday afternoon in southern parts of South Korea. Jo Sung-min, Arirang News.
A sports delegation from North Korea crossed the border and arrived at Changwon, Gyeongsang-namdo Province. They are here for the 2018 World Shooting Championship. The group of 22 comprised of 12 athletes and 10 officials will compete in 14 events, including the 10-meter air pistol. This will be the second international sporting event held in South Korea that Pyongyang is taking part this year. Back in July, the regime sent 16 athletes to the International Table Tennis Federation Korea Open in Daejeon. The World Shooting Competition, held every 4 years, begins today and runs until September 15th. Derived from ancient traditional Korean martial art forms, Taekwondo is one of the most recognized sporting events in the world today. Its popularity is validated again as enthusiasts from all corners of the globe gathered here in the nation to learn or exchange new moves and philosophies. Yoon Jung-min takes us to the 2018 Global Taekwondo Demonstration Festival.
Courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and an indomitable spirit. These attributes represent the spirit of Korea's national martial art, Taekwondo. With a spectacular demonstration performance by a South Korean team, the 2018 Global Taekwondo Demonstration Festival bursts into life. Around 160 practitioners from 11 countries are participating in this year's event at the Taekwondo Training Center located in Muju, Jeollabuk-do Province. They traveled all the way to the southern part of South Korea to learn and experience the tenets of the martial art. Since Thursday, participants from Canada, Vietnam, Denmark, Russia, and many other nations have been holding training sessions and putting on various performances.
The thing I like the most about this training is that we are a lot of countries that train and practice together so that we can learn from each other and get inspiration from one another.
Taekwondo features sparring, breaking, and self-defense techniques. Young athletes spurt with loud shouts, jump, kick high in the air, and roll forward and backward. Despite practicing for hours, their energy and power never fades away.
Well, right now, all I'm focusing on is the World Taekwondo Championships that's going to be happening in November. So I'm really excited for that.
Taekwondo One says demonstration performances are becoming increasingly popular on the global stage thanks to the splendid techniques and beautiful choreography on show. The institution contributes to nurturing talented young athletes for those performances.
The 2018 Global Taekwondo Demonstration Festival runs until September 2nd. The organizers hope the festival's performances will help show the beauty and strength of the martial art. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News, Muju.
We're down to the final few opportunities to claw up the standings before the curtain falls on the Asian Games. South Korean athletes managed to haul in more gold. Today's standout performance came from a male judoka and the women's cycling team. For the highlights and much more, let's turn to our Seobin.
The South Koreans now have 41 gold medals, including another one in judo. South Korea's Kwak Dong-han won the men's under 90 kg division on Friday. He executed a clean shoulder throw to beat his opponent from Mongolia. This was Kwak's first gold in the individual division at the Asian Games. He said he is looking forward to the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. In women's judo, South Korea's Park Yoo-jin lost to her Japanese opponent in the under 78 kg division and had to settle for silver. When Park last met Sato Ruika at the 2016 Tokyo Grand Slam, it was a defeat for her, so she had been looking forward to a win this time. In the women's cycling Madison competition, South Korea's team of Na-eum and Kim Yuri earned a gold medal with a total of 76 points. With this, Na-eum becomes the first South Korean cyclist to win 4 gold medals at the Asian Games. The South Korean men's baseball team will be looking to defend their Asian Games title in the finals on Saturday. In the gold medal game, South Korea will be facing either Japan or Chinese Taipei. At the last 2 Asian Games, South Korea beat Chinese Taipei in the finals, and they will meet again if Chinese Taipei can beat Japan. The South Korean men's football team will be looking to defend its Asian Games title when it takes on Japan in the final on Saturday. South Korea is powered up for the finals with the team led by top scorer Hwang Hee-jo and Tottenham Hotspur star Son Heung-min. This final game will be attracting attention of football fans around the world interested in Son's future. South Korean footballers will be able to earn an exemption for military service with a gold medal. There are still more events lined up later in the day, with women's 1-meter springboard diving final at 9:15 p.m. and the men's 3-meter springboard final at 10:50 p.m. After that, Saturday will be the last chance at these Asian Games for South Korea to win any more medals. 서보빈, 아리랑 뉴스.
Time to turn to Michelle Bach at the Weather Center for the updates you need. Michelle, the weather has been one extreme or the other. I think we have a nice median at this point.
Daniel, it felt like a pleasant autumn day in Seoul with a nice, refreshing breeze. But the southern regions were getting some rain, and into the night it's going to see its peak. The southern coast is expecting more than 120 millimeters of rain and between 5 and 20 in Gyeongsang-Buk-do province until tomorrow afternoon. Another rainy day tomorrow in the south, while the upper parts of the peninsula will be under cloudy skies because of the high pressure front, and the similar conditions applies for Beijing, while Tokyo can expect some more rain as well. And the morning seems to be getting cooler these days, or starting at 21 degrees Celsius, but it's still hot out down there at Jeju at 25 degrees. And into the day, those who can expect a 10-degree boost, peaking up to 31 degrees and cooler for the south due to the prolonged rain. And you'll be needing your umbrellas again back on Monday next week if you are in Seoul, and on Tuesday if you are in the southern provinces. I'll leave you with the weather conditions around the world.
That's all we have for you in tonight's edition of Arirang News Center. Thank you for watching. Have an incredible weekend.